Hello, welcome to this edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and I have the privilege of having two wonderful guests. We've done this together already, but I'm excited that we're doing it again. But I have our Fire Chief, Mike Kirkendall. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
And we have our Fire Marshal, almost forgot your title there, Rick Contreras. So Rick, thank you for joining me again.
Thank you for having us.
All right, it's that time of year again. Monsoons, heat, fires, I-17 being shut down on several occasions, a lot of smoke in the air, and of course, you know, down in Tucson, you have pictures of friends, their houses in the background, the big glow in the back. A lot of danger right now in our community, so I'm hoping we can spend a few minutes and talk about fires and what we can and can't do right now, what we should and shouldn't do right now, and anything that you might share for us to advise our residents on how to be careful and be safe.
Well, certainly at this time of year, as we look out around us, the state has a great fire problem going. We're into one of the top, I believe, 3 now size fires that we've had in the state is burning currently within the state. We have a number of other fires burning within the state. I guess I won't call it fortunately, but because what we're seeing now is most of these fires are in the lower elevations, where we had great grass growth because of the moisture we had over that. We haven't seen as many fires yet of any size up in the northern forested, what we would call the traditional forested areas. We sit right at that cusp. We sit with Mingus Mountain right next to us here, forested area. We sit with the grasslands. We're kind of high desert. We have the mesquites. We have all of these same things that are burning right here around us that are burning down south. We have grasslands and that. So certainly we have the potential here for great fire and great fire spread within our areas. So as we have right now, we are in fire restrictions. The forest is in restrictions around us. In fact, the county is in fire ban. And this is all for the safety of the people in our community. The terminology used is interface, where we have this areas where we have forest or grasslands where they interface with homes. Certainly out in the villages, the Verde Village area, just outside the city, we have a lot of that where the homes come right up to it. Maybe not quite as much in town, where we do have some real urban interface problems in town is along our washes. People build up pretty close to the washes.
Yes, they do.
And it's nice to have that flora, if you will, the mesquites and those things there. But if people don't have defensible space, it makes it nearly impossible if we get a fire burning in these washes to protect their homes. Rick, you got some input on that?
Well, yeah, and those are all great points. We've had multiple fires throughout the valley, the Verde Valley, come up recently, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, and these brushes are tall, dry, and we're getting hot, dry, windy conditions right now, and these fires are moving quick. Fortunately, we've been able to knock them out really fast and keep them contained the best we can. So we want to really encourage people to be extra careful right now because we're in very critical fire danger.
Yeah, we need to be safe. So speaking of safe, I was on a phone call the other day and the fire restrictions and bans came up, and I hadn't thought about this. But one person was asking about weed eaters and can you run a weed eater right now? And my first guy was like, yeah, cut it down, get rid of that grass, right? But I guess it has to do with combustible engines, those kinds of chainsaws and those kinds of things. So can you use your chainsaw right now? Can you use your weed eater? What should we be doing to be safe in our communities?
Great point. So we do, as part of our some of our restrictions in the city of Cottonwood, a chainsaw is one of the bans. However, for companies, landscape companies, tree companies, some of those folks, they've requested a variance from us. So typically myself or the fire inspector or both of us will go out there. We assess the property. We give them some guidelines and some smart, safe practices. These guys that we've been dealing with are already on top of their game. Very smart, good water supply, fire extinguishers, and we go over the whole thing with them. We don't give them a blanket variance for the whole town. It's case by case. So I've already met with several fence companies that have to do welding, grinding, those things. If it looks like it's going to be critical danger in a certain area, we won't allow it.
Okay.
You hit on weed eaters. We do not ban weed eaters, either gas or electric. Again, many people have electric, and so those really don't pose much of a hazard, of course, minimal
Right.
hazard. And even the gas ones. What's different between it and a chainsaw is the amount of sparks. The sparks on a chainsaw usually come off of the contact of the chain hitting something hard within the wood, a chunk of metal, a nail, or something, or even just the fact that they hit a rock or something. With a weed eater, the motor is up away from usually away from what you're cutting, and traditionally when we look at the statistics, fires started by weed eaters are very small. Fires started by chainsaws is very significant.
Okay.
Right.
So, in my backyard, can I have an open fire if I have a pit or whatever, or can I, go out to the forest here and have a picnic with marshmallows? Get those going. So, what are the rules on open fires? I'm probably asking a silly question.
Absolutely not.
So that's a no.
Right now, you
Okay.
can't. Typically in the regular season where we don't have these critical fire dangers and we're not under a ban, you can have a warming fire at your house as long as it's not too windy. We recommend under 10 miles an hour. 10 is the max speed of the wind. We do issue burn permits during certain parts of the year. They're free at the Cottonwood Fire Department. And we encourage, like the weed eater thing, we want people to clean up their defensible space, their yards, their lots. So we're all for it, but right now, no. We've been making those kind of site visits too for compliance.
So my guess is you guys see the smoke periodically.
Oh yeah, and it's scary. So we want to be smart. We want to work with people. We want to remind people what the safest thing is right now. We live in a great area. Let's protect it.
Thank you.
But just to
Chief?
clarify, you can use gas or propane
Okay.
Yes.
fired barbecues
Okay.
with a lid.
Okay.
Those are authorized now. We encourage people to enjoy the upcoming holiday, the 4th of July barbecue, but please stick to gas-fired appliances with a lid so that you can control it by closing the lid, and again,
On and off switch.
with an on and off switch that you can turn off the gas to the burner. You have to have that. With that, we do allow those, but we still tell people, please make sure those are far enough from combustibles. Don't have your barbecue. I've seen people and they have their barbecue right under a tree or a tree branch because it's shady.
Right.
But you got to remember that heat is going up, and if it's dry enough, you can have problems. Make sure again your barbecue is away from your structure. Anything else? So many times people turn on their barbecue, go inside while it's
Heats.
heating up, and do that. And there is always that potential there. So again, stay nearby. Make sure you have a means of extinguishment nearby, and just be careful. That's what we're asking for people with that barbecue.
Well, I think that's real good advice. You said, Rick, we have a beautiful community. We want to keep it that way. And I love having bored firefighters. I don't want any firefighters having to put out big fires right now. So that's all. Now, Chief, you sort of gave us a hint that we might have some special activities coming up soon. So I thought you said celebration. Are you referring to the 4th of July?
I am talking about the 4th of July.
And what are we going to do?
We are going to have fireworks. At
Yay!
least, I say this because I'm always the guy that I'm either a heel or the hero on the 4th of July, depending on whether we have fireworks or not. The decision to actually shoot the fireworks will be made about 30 seconds before the fireworks show starts, because it's dependent on so many things. We just had an Inside Cottonwood with Jack Teal and our fireworks shooter, Dave Pollock, a few weeks ago, and we discussed a lot of these things. But really, there's so much that goes into this. The decision has to be made based upon the weather, the winds, everything, and it comes right down to the wire to make that. But right now, it looks like we're on track. I don't foresee anything that right now. Believe it or not, one of the biggest things could happen is if we do see a thunderstorm kick in, we've had to actually postpone them for an hour or so sometimes in it. Since I've been the chief, we have not had to cancel the fireworks show completely. This will be my 9th fireworks show to make that decision as chief. I worked here for many years before that, but somebody else had to wear that hat to make those decisions. So
Well,
the plan is to have fireworks in it for it to be a super show.
All right. Well, I want to talk just a little bit more about fireworks and the fire danger and the bans and everything going on. But we got to take a quick break. But when we come back, let's just briefly give anybody watching an update on when and how to watch the fireworks. And really, can you have your own fireworks? That's another question I get a lot. So when we get back, we'll hear back from our fire experts, the fire marshal and fire chief, when we return to this edition of Inside Cottonwood.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Welcome back to this edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager. We have our Fire Chief, Mike Kirkendall. Thank you for being here. Our Fire Marshal, Rick Contreras. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So you announced, I think you made a promise that we're having fireworks on the 4th of July. Okay, maybe it wasn't a promise, but you said that up until about 10 seconds before the first firework goes off, you'll make that decision. But why are you making the decision? Why can't I just have fireworks at my house? Rick, can I do my own?
No, for several years now, we've had an ordinance in the city of Cottonwood where you cannot fire off fireworks, and especially during critical fire weather we're experiencing right now. I have people in the community ask me sometimes, are you having fireworks, number one? Number two, how come you guys can shoot fireworks and we can't? Well, we have a professional shooter with a lot of money and insurance. They follow the rules of National Fire Protection Association's ruling of 1123, International Fire Code. So they're very safe. We have an excellent shoot site. And what the people in Cottonwood don't realize is how many jurisdictions, fire agencies are there. We are there at Cottonwood Fire. We're also protecting the community at the same time, so we're not short-staffed that night. We have Jerome Fire with us, Verde Valley Fire District, Verde Valley Ambulance Company, and the U.S. Forest Service. And we have it strategically located. The chief and I work on this all year long, and we have Public Works helps us with some of the weed remediation in the area. So it's a very systematic approach. And I never sweat ours so much, the professional shoot. It's the illegal fireworks that we see being shot off during our shoot. And we have a zero tolerance policy, so police are going to be looking for that night.
Well, I think safety is the number one thing, and clearly if you spend 12 months planning for this, Public Works helping keep the weeds down, 3 or 4 other agencies helping patrol the area, put out fires they come, last minute decision, no promise ahead of time. Those sound like wise efforts and a good protection for our community, so that's great. Go ahead, Chief.
I'd be remiss to not mention, too, part of the reason why we have such a safe site is the slag pile that's right there. Minerals Research and Tom Herkett, the manager there, is so cooperative with us. They allow us to allow the fall zone, and much of it's up on their slag pile. They come in, they bend over backwards to help us ensure that the site, plus also the Verde Valley Fairgrounds,
yes,
who allow us to use it. So I want to shout out to Colleen and all the crew over there. They work hard to make sure that the site is, along with our crews from our city crews, going out and cutting down weeds and such. They're very cooperative, and that's why we have such a successful show. It's all the input. It's all the people involved in it, dedicating to making sure that it's a safe, very enjoyable show. And again, I've got a little secret I'll pass along. It's going to be an exceptional show this year because a lot more fireworks perhaps than what we've even had in the past, because of some things that as far as not doing the ground displays because of how the function itself is going this year, not having as many ground displays, a lot more aerial shots. So people are going to get quite a show.
Oh, I'm excited. So I will mention real quick that is true. We've done we have reduced the number of ground shows. We want to make them high and as visible as possible so people can watch them from their vehicles. Again, social distance will be important. I'm sure you talked about this with Parks and Rec, but there's no daytime activities. We have canceled the park party, the celebration for our veterans. The Cottonwood has done a great job. Mr. Faust has led that every year, and it breaks our heart not to be able to do it. But given the current situation, the only thing we're really doing is we are opening the park for people to bring in their stuff, their blankets, and asking them to social distance, wear their masks, those kinds of things. But you should be able to see this from other parking lots, the fair parking lots, from your vehicles, the back of your pickup trucks, really trying to be respectful of people's space, but providing a great show. And I think you did mention, but Parks and Rec has been working very hard to cooperate and be helpful also.
Very much.
But,
and I didn't give that shout out to
No.
Jack Teal and his crew, but they are phenomenal.
Yeah, and I'll just say the year planning, but it will also have these strategic meetings with them and the shooter and all the property owners the last few weeks. And we met right before we came on air here. And so we're meeting out there again tomorrow. And next week we're going to finalize the site area. Ready to go. Hopefully it's not super windy at 9 o'clock.
I hope not either. It's a
July.
Great thing for this community.
Yes.
Since I've came in the community and seen this, I love it. I think that it is a gem, and I don't know other communities that do quite the job that this community does when it comes to fireworks. So thank you to all our partners out there who contribute and help fund it and work to get it done. So that is just great news. So I want to take just another minute before we go to break and talk about some other heat-related things. I mean, it is almost July 1st. So I think there's a couple topics, and I'll turn it over to you, but just be careful out there, folks. It's hot, but we have the monsoons, these higher humidities. So Chief, what should people know about the monsoon season here in Cottonwood?
Well, first of all, let's start with the heat, because you're just talking about that. I think, heat, and people don't realize this, but it's in the United States, it's the number one weather-related killer is heat.
Wow.
And I think we think of tornadoes and all the other things, but it really is heat. Right now we're in a heat wave. It's supposed to cool off maybe a little bit later this week, but by the time this airs, we'll be back into it. We're in the middle of the heat. The monsoon now, they have put that into a calendar year. They say the monsoon begins June 15th. Used to, we had to have 3 days of over 50% humidity and a dew point over 50 and those things, whatever it was. Well, now they just pick a date. So while it doesn't seem like we're in the monsoon, we are technically in the monsoon now. The monsoons bring with them that much relief they're that much waited for relief when we get the rains. But with that, we get some other things that go with it, which is the thunderstorms that go with the monsoons. We get those microbursts where we get these amazingly high down winds that are straight down out of these thunderstorms. One of the things that people don't think about in our community is we have every year, when we have these microbursts, we frequently have trees where we either have branches blow down or even complete trees that come down in ours, because we've got a number of our big trees in around town, the cottonwoods, and people have these in their yards, and other trees that really need to have some pruning done, or some of them are just so old that they really need to be trimmed out or taken out. We've had trees collapse on houses and that's another hazard that goes with that is these microbursts. We have lightning, which adds to the hazard too. Actually, the reality is when we get into monsoon season, because of heat, it's a good time to spend as much time as you can. Enjoy the outdoors, but do it when it's safe. Do it in the evenings. Try to limit your time out in the sun, but even more importantly, if you've got to be out in the sun, make sure you're drinking plenty of water, getting rest when you need to. Don't let yourself get overheated, and watch very closely for heat-related injuries. When the monsoons kick in and we get the weather patterns, it's time to get inside. Get out of the weather, get out of the lightning, and let it cool down, but enjoy it from inside.
Enjoy it
when
from
it's raining.
Yeah, we've had multiple trampolines up in the power lines, canopies knocked over.
Yeah,
Flooding's
last year.
one of the biggest issues. and it could flood in Old Town Cottonwood, but not over at Walmart. You know, it's just how it works.
Yeah, I'm sitting in my desk in Cottonwood and it's raining a little bit and I get a phone call and Walmart's flooding down there or some other neighborhood and I'm looking out my window and it's just not there. So it doesn't have to affect the whole city, but it can be very, very serious. So when we get back, we're going to take another quick break, but let's talk a little more about monsoons. And then I want to talk about swimming and pools and protecting our children. As you know, I have a connection to Yuma, and I was reading their newspaper over the weekend, and they've had 2 recent child drownings, and it just breaks my heart to hear that happen. So I want to, I know it's a sad topic, but let's talk about safety when we get back. When we come back, we'll talk about monsoons and pool safety.
This is Bruce Morrow, Transportation Manager for Cottonwood Area Transit. Remember, we cover the entire Verde Valley and Sedona. Cottonwood Area Transit has you covered wherever you want to ride in the Verde Valley, all day, every day. Take Cottonwood Area Transit through Clarkdale, Verde Village, and from 26 locations in Cottonwood. With Verde Links, it's a quick and easy trip to Sedona every day. Don't forget our connectors to Camp Verde. Visit cottonwoodaz.gov for Cottonwood Area Transit and take a seat. Let's go ride.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.org.
Horrible. Welcome back to this edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager. We have our Fire Chief, Mike Kirkendall. How are you doing today?
Doing good.
This is awesome. And our Fire Marshal, Rick Contreras.
Thanks for having us again.
Well, glad to be here. Well, when we went on break, we were talking about monsoons, and one of the things we talked about was flooding. So it can get bad here in Cottonwood, and you shouldn't go in any moving stream, right? I mean, stay away from it.
Yeah, some of our washes still experience that heavy flooding, so don't do it. You know, you see it on TV all the time. People are doing it down the valley in Phoenix, the greater metro area, but up here too it's happened. So we want to stay, you shouldn't be in any of the wash corridors, some of our street corridors that have washes in them, or near the Verde River, because potential life safety. It can be
pretty bad. And in the year and a half I've been here, we've had several flooding incidents. It's been surprised. Our Riverfront Park flooded last year, or a year and a half ago now. It's been a little while, but we can really get some quick water fast, and it can fill up before you know it. So monsoons, also we talked about the winds, Chief. You were talking about how bad the winds can be. I know our building official's not here right now, but one of the things he likes to see is all those canopies secured. We had a umbrella, I think, last year create an electric outage for a little bit. God bless APS and all the work they have to do, but be safe and watch for those microbursts and the wind. Would you agree, Chief?
Absolutely, and the weather can change so quickly. You talked about the flooding a little bit. The rain doesn't have to be raining on you. We get rain up here on the side of the mountain, and if the storm's there, and it may not even feel bad here, but it comes down in the washes. 1 foot of water can sweep away a car. It doesn't take a lot of water to get underneath the car, a smaller car, we see this every year, and it's tragic. If you remember last year in Arizona, there was a real tragedy up in the I think it was the White Mountains up on the rim somewhere there, the Tonto Basin or somewhere there, and it was real tragedy to do that. So we encourage people, stay out of the washes. Monsoons will be upon us here shortly. We need to use great caution when it says don't cross, and if you have any doubt, find another way around.
Right.
Don't drive through running water. That's the safest thing I can tell people.
Keep an eye on those weather reports and keep an eye in the sky, because
there's a road between Gila Bend and Maricopa, and I've gotten halfway down and had to spend an hour and a half going around. It's just not worth it going through those and risking family. So I think that's real good advice. So while we're talking about water, if you're around pools, you need to be safe. And unfortunately, death occurs and young children can die from pools. So take a minute, either Rick or Chief, and talk about what are the rules, or what should we be aware of here in Cottonwood, and what should parents do to protect their children from drowning in a pool who are just trying to cool off, or chase a tennis ball, or play with their dog, or whatever. What can parents do to prevent this tragedy from happening?
Oh, well, I think you have to supervise your kids at all times. Don't go away. Stay off your phones, those kind of things. Have a adult supervise the kids swimming, and they should make sure they know how to swim as well. You don't want to go, we were talking about lightning, you don't want to be in the pool when it's lightning, you don't want to be down at the river, and those kind of things, because it could happen in a minute. And I know down in the metro area in the valley, they do a great campaign of advertising against kids drowning and those kind of things. And it's not always just kids, it's adults as well, maybe drinking too much, or
drinking and swimming,
party. Yeah,
drinking and boating.
Yeah, and we're experiencing really hot weather, and people want to get in the water. Just be smart about it, be practical.
Right.
The thing he mentioned that down the valley, I think it's called the Just a Few Seconds campaign. We also have it, and that's important for you to understand. One of the other things that, besides keeping an eye on your kids, is, and it's a requirement. It's an ordinance. You have to have a fence around your pool. It has to have a self-locking gate. Again, that's not a substitute for keeping your eyes on your child, but it is also it's a backup to that. Is if you have any water over 18 inches deep, any pool, any type of water in your yard, you have to have that fenced and there's a height requirement on the fence, and it has locked requirements on the fence. These are all things the reason why we enforce this is for the safety of our children. It's not trying to be, it's not because we like going out and enforcing these ordinances, but we do this for the safety of the children. There have been so many tragedies that could have been averted simply by an obstacle to keep a child from getting into the pool. So that's it. But there's never going to be anything short of knowing where your children are and keeping an eye on them.
And I think it's good to be proactive than reactive, because anybody at Planning and Zoning Compliance or the fire department will come to your house if you need some advice of how to make my pool safer. If you're not sure, give us a call. We can walk you through it and help you to achieve that safety.
So they can call Community Development. It's on the web. You say in the phone book, but nobody knows what a phone book now is. So it's on the web, or the city's webpage, or the fire department to get hold of the fire marshal or fire inspector to come down and help.
And we probably will come down with one of the compliance folks at P&Z, and we'll help them out. We've done it several times.
That is really good news, Chief.
Just a reminder, even the portable pools that you put in your yard, that they just set up for the summer. Again, you have to have a fence around them. It isn't just to protect your children, it's to protect children from the neighborhood. Water is an attractive nuisance for children. They're drawn to it.
Right.
And if you have a pool or something in your yard, you may not even have children, but they'll know it's there, and it's our responsibility as adults to do our best to protect the children of our community.
Yeah, they shouldn't be in there if their parents are at work and those kind of things.
Yeah, if you've ever been involved with a call, or a family member who's lost a child due to drowning, it's just, any death is sad, but it's sad.
You don't forget it.
You do not forget that ever. So we've talked about several things today. We've talked about the monsoons, lightning, wind, heat, protecting yourself, staying indoors, staying hydrated, those kinds of things. We've talked about the fire restrictions. A lot of fire restrictions right now to protect our neighborhoods and our community. So I want to end today's Inside Cottonwood with giving each of you a minute or so to say anything you want, or talk about what you love about Cottonwood other than the fireworks. I love the fireworks. But Chief, we'll start with you. I'll put you on the spot there. Anything you want to say about our community, or anything, shout outs?
No, I nothing particular other than I want people to enjoy the summer. There's so many things going on in the world around us right now, and people haven't been able to get out much. We have to social distance. We have to, wear our masks where we need to wear them. We need to do all those things that are safe, but people still need to get out and enjoy it. Just do it in a safe manner. Remember fire safety, remember water safety, remember monsoon safety. The bottom line is enjoy it, but enjoy it safely. And again, we're almost positive we're going to have those fireworks. This will be my last year to make that decision. So,
Yeah, but it probably will not be your last time on Inside Cottonwood. I've got you for a couple more months. Thanks for reminding me. We'll talk about that sadness another day. Rick, anything you want to, any shout outs or anything you want to talk about?
Well, like I said earlier, this is a great community. I've lived here a long time. I grew up in Southern California. My mom was born and raised in Jerome, my dad in Clarkdale. So I've been coming here, usually it's a Contreras family reunion every year for a week long at the 4th of July. There's only been 2. I haven't been here. This year, they're not having it because of the COVID-19. So that's understandable. But I always consider myself very fortunate to be able to do what I do here, and spend a lot of time in the community investing in it, and it always pays back.
It does. So I'll just wrap up this edition of Inside Cottonwood, and I want to do a shout out to all of our first responders and all of our men and women who wear a uniform, whether it be white or blue, or the firefighters' uniform, the helmets, or our police officers, and all the others. So we have utilities people that are working through all of this the last few months, keeping the water flowing and the wastewater flowing, and our public works crews, keeping our streets clean, keeping them open, keeping our lights working. The amount of work that our city employees put out, from the bottom of my heart, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for being at risk. Thank you for not forgetting about the community you serve and giving back. So again, this is this edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, and we'll see you next time.